What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Lost Ark video. Today's Lost Ark video is going to be a little bit different than we normally do around here. This is going to be the video that I've been thinking about making and going to be making, question mark? I don't know the words I want to use, but this is a video that I've wanted to make for a little while now. I hit roster level 300 about a little bit under a month ago now. And obviously I didn't end up recording it because I got it unexpectedly during a little fucky-wucky in a dungeon. But that's not a huge deal. Roster level 300 is what it is. It's just a bigger number. Bigger number is better person. But I wanted to take this time to just sort of talk about, you know, roster level 300. What are my feelings about the journey here? Sort of just the game as it's evolved since we've played it, I suppose, in the path to get here. And of course, I'll throw in some tips to level your roster, because I know there's some of you out there who, despite hearing the same answers over and over, they want to hear it from somebody who has roster level 300. I mean, there's no more secrets really than just do MSQs and power on all your characters. Like, that's the secret. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to break it to you like this, but there's not much more of a secret than that. And I'm just going to be doing dailies in the background while I kind of talk over and talk my feelings out about the roster level stuff, just so you guys have something to watch if you are a watcher instead of a second monitor listener. Because I do know a few of you out there exist. God bless. God bless each and every one of you. Inshallah, my brothers. But roster level 300. What are my thoughts? Obviously, I like the game a lot, or I wouldn't have played it up to roster level 300. Roster level doesn't mean too much other than you have played the game a lot. The activities that give you the most roster experience are semi-farmable, I would say. And what I mean by semi-farmable is the things that give you the most roster experience in this game are things like main story quests. So I'm talking about going through Phaeton, I'm talking about going through Punica, I'm talking about going through South Vern, Algasha, Rowan. And then, for in-game players that don't want to keep farming MSQ, the thing that gives you the most roster experience past that is running your cubes. Cubes give a absolute ton of roster experience compared to, like, any other activity in the game. Whereas something like an Una's task might give you 100 roster experience, a cube clear will give you like 8k roster experience. Something like that. It's a significant increase is what I would say to that. And that's what I mean by semi-farmable. And that's mostly how I attained most of my roster experience past like 250. I used to be somebody who cared a lot about roster because it was just something to grind. But once I realized, once you hit the cap, that's it. There's nothing else to do. In that department, I slowed down a lot, and I stopped actively running my MSQs on characters, and I just kind of focused on playing the game. And I adopted a I'll get there when I get there mindset. But that's kind of what I mean by there's no secret to get roster experience. There are the ways to get it, and it's just up to you whether you want to spend your time doing that or focus on other things in the game, like just doing raids and Unas and shit. Because you do get roster experience from basically everything in the game. It's just the quantity of that roster experience may be a bit lower than what you would want to see. That being said, I think the game has a lot of enjoyment in it. Well, obviously, or I would not have played it this much. But the main thing to keep in mind here is that just because I enjoy the game, right, doesn't necessarily mean I don't have any problems with the game. I adopt a mindset where I think there's already enough criticism and negativity for the most part. So when I try to make videos, I try to make them mostly from a more positive point of view. Mostly from my own mental health at this point. I've realized since I've stopped being such a pessimistic, negative dickhead, my outlook on things has been generally more positive. Who'd have thought that would be the case? I know. Truly a shocking revelation that only some of our most dignified scholars could have ever possibly thought imaginable. But that is all to say that yes, this game does have significant problems, but I think every game to a degree does have significant problems, and it's just on you to figure out what problems are make or break in terms of video games for you. Obviously, I've had times in Lost Ark where I've been completely not interested in playing it, and I do basically what I would consider the bare minimum for me. Obviously, my bare minimum is a bit different than most other people's because I'm trying to, be a content creator. I think at this point I've been doing this for a little bit over a year. Obviously, my views and whatever aren't the best, but they're also not the worst, so I think I can comfortably say I have achieved my goal. I mean, I am a content creator. I love seeing you guys out and about when you guys say hi, or I love your videos, or you call me shit or whatever. I've had a few people do that. It is what it is, man. Just the fact that I know you're out there and enjoying the stuff, or not enjoying the stuff, honestly, but just the fact that you've watched the video. I mean, I think a content creator's biggest nightmare is making something that just doesn't get viewed at all, period. So whether you like something or dislike something, at the end of the day, I mean, you know it exists and you've seen it, right? Obviously, I prefer the positive comments to the negative. I mean, who doesn't? And I'm not going to sit here and say that the negative comments don't affect me, because they absolutely do. I'm a human. And I think a lot of people forget that. But that is all to say, yes, I am a normal person just like you. I'm a human, a humie, a normie. Well, not really a normie. I'm a bit of a degen, as the video would lead you to believe. I'm roster level 300 after all. Fuck's sakes. But hopefully you understand what I'm trying to get across here. It is a bit rambly, but that is my signature style, and also why you are probably here if you like me. And if you don't like me, you're here to, I don't know, make fun of me, I guess? I don't know, man. But let's run a cube now. I usually don't do cubes because I fucking hate cube. Shit takes so goddamn long. But roster level 300. You can see here, I still haven't done Rowan on my main character. I haven't finished the Elgastia. I mean, I haven't worked on the Elgastia Adventure Tome at all. I still haven't finished the South Vern Tome, when literally all I have is the hidden stories left. So I have a lot of easy roster experience I could have gotten. Like I said, roster experience only gets you so far. I do look at it as an indicator when I look for people in a group that matters. Like, if I'm just doing some reclear content, pretty much all I'll look at is your roster level. Because at that point, I don't care about your damage, I don't care about anything, I just care about you fucking up major mechanics that will make us have to restart. And roster level, while it's not a perfect indicator, it's one of the better indicators in the game that the game gives us to use as a tool. Because obviously, the only way to get big roster level is by playing the game. Yes, you can primarily focus on things like MSQ or running a ton fuck of cubes. But logically, during that period of time, you are still going to do raids, right? So that's sort of my philosophy behind it. Overall, I think the journey to roster level 300 has been an interesting one. A lot of people will comment on it So it's interesting to see the different reactions from people. Obviously, some people will use it as like a, oh, your roster level like 280. Clearly, you are very good at the game. When in reality, no, it's just I play a lot, right? And I'm a human, so at the end of the day, everybody has their bad days, right? So that's a negative with roster level, because obviously there's been a lot of times where I'm having an off day or I'm just not feeling the greatest, but I still want to play some fucking Lost Ark and get my mind off things. And then you have the dweebs who look at your roster level and are like, roster level 280, you play like you just bought this account. And it's just like, come on, bro. But I mean, that'll go for anything. Roster level is just the easiest identifier to shit on people with. You can see it a lot with people who have like super high item level or like whale RMT gear, for example, and a lower roster level. You'll be like, oh, nice roster level with your plus 25 with con weapon. And it's like, I don't know, man. Don't you have something better to do, like play the game? But I know not everybody thinks like me. Is what it is. I feel like it's just easier to be neutral or nice than it is to go out of your way to be a dickhead. And that's not to say that I don't do that too. Like I said, I'm a human. We all have our emotions and faults. Especially if somebody aggresses on me, I will not hesitate to be a toxic little piece of shit back towards them. That's not the greatest quality that I have, and it's definitely a carryover from when I used to be more of a little piece of shit kid. Glad that I'm not that anymore, but there's still some carryovers because, again, human nature and all that. As far as roster level goes, if you want to get higher roster level, I said I would talk about it a little bit, and I've made mention of it already, but how do you get roster level the fastest if your only goal is to farm roster level? Well, little Timmy, do I have a hell of a answer for you. And you're not going to like it most likely, but I'm going to give it to you anyways because it's the truth. What I'm doing right now, you see me, I'm running the Cube. This is some of Arcasia's top-notch content. Honestly, have not met somebody who hates the Cube. It's just honestly so enjoyable. I don't know how you could possibly dislike it. But the Cube, like I said, one of the better repeatable sources of roster experience. If you're not into farming the Cube, but you like playing a bunch of alts, on those alts, maybe consider doing the MSQ rather than knowledge transferring it, because if you knowledge transfer the story quests, you do not get the roster experience or rewards. But if you do them manually, you both get the rewards, and you get the roster experience, which admittedly is why I used to do a lot of MSQs, because the South Vern MSQ gave you a bunch of card packs, and card packs are very important in the game, especially for the growth of your account. Things like KLC and LOS. I can't switch to LOS. I wasn't on LOS as is. I'm a fucking noob. But you get the point. Roster level isn't the only thing you should be worried about. You should be... Again, this is my opinion, but you should be worried about growing your account overall. Not focused on a singular thing, right? And then the singular thing in this example, obviously being roster level. Because Lost Ark is a very different game in that regard. I mean, take a look at the collectible tab, for example, right? You get a decent amount of roster experience for each of the collectibles that you do manage to collect in the game, but it's not like a significant amount. Like Makoko Seeds, you'll get like, what, 50 roster experience or something per seed, but in the end, 50 times 1200 is not very much compared to the last roster level that I got was almost 400k experience. That's not going to do very much in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, the way experience scales, you get more bang for your buck earlier on because it's less experience to level. But things like collectibles are very important for your account's overall growth, despite it not giving you nearly as much roster experience as, say, running South Vern MSQ. or running Punica MSQ. South Vern is a bad example because I think South Vern is one of the most profitable story quests to run, considering the card packs that you get per completion of it, based on how long it takes to complete it. Basically, what I'm saying is, even if you don't give a shit about roster experience, you should probably be doing your South Vern MSQs if you need cards, because that's a really good source of cards. That aside, you have your per character things that you can do, aside from MSQs. You have your towers. Towers give you a good amount of roster experience per character, especially based on the time investment into doing them for what you get out of them. Not only do you get roster experience, but you also get additional materials, and if it's your first time running the tower on your account period, you get the base rewards, which is stuff like skill point potions and collectibles. So tower, again, is very important to run, whether you want it for roster experience or not. I think that does it for this video, honestly. I think I have covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I've covered my thoughts and feelings on the adventure getting here. I've covered how I feel about roster level as an identifier, and I've covered roster level as sort of a marker on getting to certain points in your account's life, and what you should focus on versus what people do focus on. Hopefully, this was at least a little bit interesting, and you found my thoughts at least slightly coherent, maybe more than normal. I didn't want to make this video super rushed, so this is something that I've been thinking about for a while, and thinking about how I wanted to present it and what exactly I wanted to say and talk about. But overall, I just kind of wanted to document my thoughts and feelings on my journey to 300 roster level in Lost Ark over the last, I'd say, about year and a half. Maybe year and 3/4, whatever you prefer. But it's been a long time coming. Finally happened. I'm happy that I made it. Especially since I like seeing end game points or end points in my games. Like in PoE, for example, I grinded a character up to 100, and then I felt content with not playing the game anymore. Exactly the same for MapleStory initially. In Reboot, when it first came out, I grinded up to 250. I felt completely content with being done with the game at that point. I'm somebody who likes having endpoints in mind. So, hitting the quote-unquote big endpoint in Lost Ark definitely feels good for me. And I'm happy to have done it. And I'm glad that I don't completely hate the game after achieving it as well, like I did with PoE and MapleStory, respectively. Because a lot of the games that I grind for the quote-unquote end point in, I end up hating, and I only do it just to say that I've done it. So it's nice to see that there's a game that exists like Lost Ark that I can hit that point in and still genuinely enjoy the game, rather than feel like I'm being forced to play it against my will, even though it's just a completely psychological thing that I'm imposing on myself. But I'm done yapping your yaps off. I speak some good Japanese. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys for sticking around with the channel, whether you're new here or old head. Again, most important thing any content creator can see is that people enjoy their content. So, thank you guys. I love you all. And of course, thank you to my YouTube members, my Tier 2s. I'm Nufu, Erzyke, Jacob, Clouded, Blitzel, Remixed My Life. You guys are the lifeblood of me. Not only monetarily, but just being fucking bros, honestly. You guys are the greatest. And honestly, your guys' super early support in me has made the world of difference, and I can never thank you guys enough. So thank you, truly. I'm thanking all my tier 1s, It's Biscuits, Ender, Diz. Again, you guys are my close friends, and you guys have supported me even when I was just kind of doing this as a joke. Not necessarily a joke, but, you know, just kind of being like, haha, what if I did this thing? Imagine if I was, like, any good at it. Haha. Imagine, though. Yeah. Thank you guys again. I'm out of here. I'm outie 9000. Bye.